This is going to be your guide for using Corviknight in Pokemon Sword and Shield. It's tankier than SKARMORY. It's tankier than SKARMORY. SKARMORY, it, Eeyore, tank, than. So, that was like the first thing I looked at. I was like, wait a second, this thing has a lot more hit points, but less defense. How do the numbers end up playing out? So what I have here is a Fire-type Silvally, since multi-attack did get buffed to 120 attack, or not 120 attack, but 120 power. So now it's like a same type attack boosted Flare Blitz on a 95 attack Pokemon. And here is a fully defensive Corviknight, 60% to 72%. Here's SKARMORY, 59.2 to 70%. It's pretty much the same defensively, but it's better on the special defense. So what we have here is 85-98. SKARMORY is 65-70. So it's significantly tankier on the special defense while pretty much being the same on defense. Corviknight is tankier than SKARMORY and arguably has like a real ability. Like SKARMORY's ability almost never comes into play unless we're talking about Charizard Y, Heat Wave, or Flamethrower under Sunny Day or something like that. Like Kenai, that's aight, like just in case the opponent's pulling some evasion shenanigans, but that doesn't really affect SKARMORY too much. Weak armor, you definitely don't want that. Corviknight, Mirror Armor, bounces back stat lowering effects that the Pokemon receives. This includes max moves. So you get hit with the Max Phantasm, they lose defense. You still take the damage, but they lose defense. So you can't get like worn down, because that's one way of dealing with these Pokemon. You eventually erode, you wear away at their defenses, and then you might be able to do something. Not Corviknight. You can't break through it. And even if you don't get the hidden ability, pressure is still solid, because in a PP stall situation, the opponent isn't going to be able to touch you. So yeah, let's get into Corviknight. Everything about this Pokemon's actually ridiculous. I've been sleeping on Corviknight too much. Regional Bird, haven't really seen too much about it. The funny thing is, though, this Pokemon like hard counters my current team, and whenever I see it in the Battle Stadium, I just lose for free if they bring it. But I'm just like, well, it's not because it's great or anything, it's just because my team can get anti-stalled, and that's what Corviknight is really good at. So we're going to show a couple of different movesets. This is one that's been wrecking me because you can just run Taunt, and then it's anti-stall. Because you just taunt, and then you bulk up, and then you start killing them, and they can't drop your stats or anything. And the best thing about it is that it's a Steel-type Pokemon, so you can't even Toxic Stall it. And this is where the problems come into play, because I throw out my Toxapex, and I can't do anything. I get taunted, it hits +6 on bulk up, and then I just get killed with a Drill Peck eventually. And then whenever the taunt wears off, it just taunts me again. So that's actually where the speed is interesting. Like 67 speed isn't great, but anything slower than it that wants to be a tanky Pokemon just gets super taunted. And there's going to be like times where even if Corviknight's slower, you can still use taunt and shut down potential setup on the opponents, and you can do a lot of really fun stuff for yourself. It also has Roost, so we have a tankier SKARMORY that can get its health back. Good. Here's a couple of other ideas. You can get rid of the taunt because it kind of doesn't matter. You can just gain more stats and then wreck your opponent even harder. Iron Defense Body Press. So Body Press is a new move that's starting to get a lot of like fanciness going on with it. So think Foul Play, but instead of using the opponent's attack, it uses your defense. So it uses defense instead of attack in damage calculation, which means Iron Defense is better to run. If we're not using attack for our calculation, why bulk up? Why only get +1 attack at once when we're getting defenses and more damage on the body press? This is actually insane. Now, body press with taunt is good, but it makes you Ghost Bait, so that's why we have Power Trip. Hit +6 on iron defenses, and then Power Trip is also going to be insane, because now +20 for each stat, we're running a 140 power move that's pretty much just there to hit the things that are immune to our body press, which we're going to get massive one-shots with anyways, because we take our ridiculous defenses, and it just goes nuts. As for effort values, max hit points, max special defense, and then I'm gonna go with the Impish Nature. That way we can just kind of like keep that nice foundation in defenses. Still more physical attacks than special attacks in Pokemon Sword and Shield. Being a Flying Steel-type Pokemon, it's SKARMORY on the weaknesses. Guess I'll pull those up. Absolute unit of a Pokemon with this typing. I mean, you get the double immunity, because that's balanced, and then only 2 weaknesses, Fire and Electric. So Rotom Heat is, in theory, a problem for this Pokemon, but then if you just have, like, a thick, fat Appleton, Rotom can't really do much of that. Like, Rotom Heat can be walled out without too much effort, so yeah. and even like a bulky ground type Pokemon, my Hippowdon does really well against Rotom Heat. So Corviknight can also just pair up with other buddies and then just have no problems whatsoever with a ton of resistances. So you just kind of like bring it in and then you start wrecking your opponent by setting up. And if they try to set up as a slower tank, then you just shut them down. So there's a lot of nasty things that the Corviknight can do. I was also looking into some other things that it gets the agility. It gets agility. I don't want to get too carried away here, but what about, like, if you want to take this body press risk, or if you don't want to have the taunt, like, what happens if you do this? Like, now you're just gonna be faster than this. I mean, you get 1 agility, and then actually that wouldn't be, yeah, that would be bulk up. So you get 1 agility, and then you bulk up. Now, if the opponent would otherwise be faster than you, you're taking the same amount of damage, because they hit you, and then you bulk up. Now it's, they hit you, your agility, and then you bulk up, and then they hit you. So this is just benefit. You are, like, losing out against, like, the weird anti-stall strats and stuff, but you're still going to be getting a lot of damage, and you're still going to be really strong, and you're still going to be impossible to deal with at some point. So that's why I was like, oh, agility is a thing. Defog, I haven't really seen entry hazards be a thing in Pokemon Sword and Shield too much, so I don't think the defog is necessary, but it's there. It's not common anymore because it's not a move tutor move. So less Pokemon have defog. If you need bulky defog, there you go. Also in Generation 8, defog removes terrains now, so could also be pretty necessary. Like a thing that is a problem with Corviknight is a Pokemon going into Dynamax, getting an electric type move off, then having the boosted damage from the electric terrain. But if it's just going to be that obvious and scripted, you go into a ground type Pokemon, and Corviknight is going to be fine. So there's going to be few opportunities to take out a Corviknight in a battle, and if you have the Corviknight, you can reduce those and make it to where your opponent just loses. Also, Tailwind. I was thinking about this for doubles, because when we have a Pokemon that's tankier than Skarmory, you just kind of slap him in on doubles, and now it's a problem. I think that's the best way to say it. Like, this becomes a problem because they just can't kill it, so now you get a free Tailwind, and you get to do some free other setup things and just be threatening, like Tailwind Taunt. So now you get to be faster, you have a super sweeping Pokemon as your buddy, and then you're going to be able to taunt anything that tries to pull shenanigans, that's like trying to do setup or shenanigans or something like that. So yeah, you can shut people down pretty hard with the Corviknight, and there's a few other things that you can maybe like splash in depending on its moveset if you're going for doubles. I'm just more looking at like the shenanigans this thing can pull in singles like that. And yeah, so it's mostly going to be against these two movesets, whichever one you feel wants to work the best. Like, this is just Iron Defense, Body Press, and eventually you end up sweeping with the Corviknight. This one is to be cheeky and then running Taunt. Taunt's what shuts me down. I feel like I would stand a slightly better chance against Corviknight if it wasn't for the Taunt, but even then, like, tank Pokemon can't get around it anyways. So mostly just like a middle finger in your last-ditch efforts when going against Corviknight, and Mirror Armor means you can't whittle it away, you can't take it down. And I've had also problems where it's like, oh, Toxapex is going to use Liquidation to try to break down the Corviknight. Can't. Now I'm losing defenses, and I can't Toxic it. That's just game. So this Pokemon turns into a that's just game against most tanks, and as the meta starts to like shift that way to slow down a lot of the Dynamax power, Corviknight is just a really good Pokemon. I don't know what else to say about it. You know, that's kind of it. Oh, I didn't even talk about an item on this Pokemon. Honestly, I don't even know. Like, Corviknight is in that rare category of being such a good Pokemon. Like, the item hardly even matters on it. You could go with a Weakness Berry. That way, if the opponent tries to do, like, some kind of crazy big nuke onto you, it's not going to work. Might need it, might not. It's easy to just default to Leftovers, but I feel like there's just a better Pokemon to put Leftovers on your team if you're running like two bulky Pokemon or more. I don't think Corviknight's like worth eating up the Leftover slot with it. Citrus Berry is cool. Once again, other Pokemon might want the Citrus Berry, so you just kind of use that. But I mean, like, it's cool if you bulk up or use Iron Defense and you're taking hits and stuff, and then you don't have to worry because you get a Citrus Berry boost. And I think maybe at that point, like, the best option is just going to be a Moringa Berry. That you're gaining Iron Defense, your Special Defense is already really good, like 98, 85, fully invested, makes you a really really dense Special Defense Pokemon. So getting that +1 in there is like, oh, now they really can't kill you. So even if it's going to be something like a Thunder or an Electric type attack, or even a Fire type attack, it's like, all right, I know I'm going to eat it. You just Roost. So you take it, +1 Special Defense, Roost, and now they deal less damage. And then you just Iron Defense and Body Press until you win. So just filthy, filthy Pokemon right here. It's tankier than Skarmory. tankier than SKARMORY.